everybody, it's Kari at the Racine Heritage Museum, and today I'm going to be talking to you about Western Publishing. And the other day we talked about Little Golden Books, but today I'm going to focus on their board games, puzzles, and playing cards. So in 1925, the Woolworths and Kresge retailers were requesting playing cards. And back in 1923, Western had added a box department, and that allowed them to branch out to actually making different things than just printed books. And so they started looking into making playing cards, and they actually acquired another company that produced playing cards. And what they found out very quickly was they needed very specialized equipment to produce the playing cards. They needed equipment that could cut precisely, that would apply the ink so that it wouldn't smear. And their first few attempts were not successful. They had actually thought of not producing the playing cards, but as they continued to work at it and develop the right equipment, they became very successful at it, so much so that they eventually became one of the top 3 playing cards producers in the United States. These playing cards that I have here are pretty cool because if you look closely, they say Hamilton Beach. So we have 2 Racine companies represented here by these playing cards. By 1928, they realized that they needed a much bigger plant to accommodate all this specialized equipment for the things that they were making. And so they built the plant over on Mound Avenue. And this was one of the first humidity-controlled and air-conditioned factories in the United States. And so it was a very state-of-the-art plant. They had a workforce of 300 people, and they were producing 5 million decks of cards a year. Now, in the 1930s, jigsaw puzzles became very, very popular, and they were working to produce many boxes of jigsaw puzzles, which of course required even more specialized cutting equipment and ink and things like that. They also started making paper dolls and starting to make some of the card games for children and things like that. Now by the 1950s, they acquired the Strathmore Company, the Western and Strathmore Company, and Strathmore was the producer of the Magic Slate. And I don't know how many of you had one of these growing up. I definitely did. You would take this stylus and you would write a message on here, and then you lift it off and the message disappears. So this was such a popular item. This was actually invented by a worker in a corset factory who was just trying to save paper and found out that he could write these messages on wax paper and lift it off and disappear. And so he was experimenting with bringing these home to his kids and letting his kids draw on them, decided that it would be a great toy to try to market, and he was right. And so after it was patented, it became one of Western's products that they sold very successfully. So much so that by the 1990s, the CIA and the State Department was actually using magic slates like this to send secret messages in the Soviet embassy because the embassy was wiretapped, and so they could write a message on here and then have it disappear right away. And so Western Publishing found out about this, and they sent 25 cases of magic slates to the embassy. However, by this time, they weren't using them anymore because they probably had solved the other problems. But they sent thousands of magic slates to the embassy, and the White House actually sent a thank you back to Western on a magic slate. So magic slate got to be used for some CIA work for a little while. By 1961, Western started producing more educational games and kits. And by 1968, they acquired Skillcraft Playthings, and that branched them into science kits, crafts, lab kits, things like that. By 1979, Mattel acquired the Western game division, and it really influenced a lot of the games that they produced. So a lot of the Mattel characters, such as Barbie, He-Man, those toys that were popular at the time were showing up in the Western books and games and products. So I just wanted to show you a few of the things that we have here. Of course, we have the Magic Slate. It was really difficult to choose what artifacts to bring upstairs. We have boxes and boxes and boxes of paper dolls and games and card games and puzzles and books and kits and you name it. So it's really pretty cool looking through the collection, but I just brought up a couple things to show you. Of course, we have a jigsaw puzzle. We have a couple of those. Pictionary, I'm sure you've heard of Pictionary. This became so popular in the 1980s. In 1987, this Western-produced game was one of the top 4 games in the country, and they judge games popularity by if they can sell 200,000 units in a year, and Pictionary sold between 3 and 3.5 million, so extremely popular. Of course, we have Old Maid, and this would have been one of the educational kits that Western produced. It's a model battleship. It's balsa wood. So like I said, this is just a very tiny fraction of some of the Western stuff that we have, and just wanted to take a minute to show you these things. Chris and Allison will be back next week with another episode of 6 Feet Apart that you won't want to miss. We have a really surprise toolbox that we'll be opening. So we'll see you again soon. Bye.